Hello everyone, JP from Caffeinated Warlord, bringing you once again another battle report from the ConVic tournament, My Undead versus a very different kind of undead. It's a rematch against Scott and his vampires. So this is the ConVic 2023 tournament that was held in July of this year, which was a long time ago, I understand. However, I have the memory of an elephant and also have happened to have written an article about this very battle, so I tend to remember pretty much everything, but maybe there'll be surprises along the way. We're up to round 5. There's been 4 rounds so far. I've won 2, lost 1, drew 1. Go watch them if you want to. I don't want to spoil which ones were won and lost and draw, but I'm generally on a high. I've done pretty good, and I'm hoping to just win one more in these last 2 rounds, because it's a 6-round tournament, and then that means I'm coming out in a net positive, and I think that's the first time for a 6-day event I've ever done that. So that's what my goal is for this event with the Undead, and if I can't do it with an Undead, then I can't do it with anything. So the match I have for you today is against Scott, and so Scott's actually featured once on this channel already with his Undead, and it's exactly the same army, which is the most astounding thing, because in the Mayhem battle reports that came out back in May and June, he had an army and it was completely unpainted. It was cool, it was a good idea. So what he had, his whole army is about the non-shambling aspects of the Undead army, so focusing mostly on the Soul Reaver infantry and the ghouls. And obviously he has some models in mind, and the models that he has are the Chaos Warriors. So they're the new Chaos Warrior models. They look fantastic. These are really nice looking sculpts. And so he's using Chaos Warriors in their big, runic armor. Those are the Soul Reaver infantry, and then he has Huskarls from, the Clansman kind of models from the Northern Alliance range for his ghouls. The idea of this whole army is, I guess, a whole vampiric knight army from the frozen norths. So it all kind of makes sense, and it had a cool idea, but at that time completely unpainted. So it didn't look the best. You could see what he was going for, but it wasn't painted yet. I say yet because in the 2 months after that tournament, it was just 2 months, he managed to paint the entire army. None of it was painted, and by the time this tournament was here, it all was painted. And when you see his army list, you'll see, but we're talking multiple regiments of those Soul Reaver infantry, which are all, those Chaos Warriors with lots of ornate kind of armor with trimming, and we've got all the Huskarl kind of models for his ghouls, and then he has lots of worms, because he likes to use big monsters as well. So when you see the army list, just remember, this was all painted within a 2-month period. And if that doesn't astound you already, he won Player's Choice for this army. So an army he painted in 2 months got Player's Choice for the painting of it at the event. Just because it was so cohesive, it all went together, it just looked good. So it was a very nice looking army, and congratulations to Scott for that award. But let's get into this game. So what did I bring to this match? So it's my Undead. It's 2150 points. I have brought 3 regiments of zombies to get in the way and hold objectives. 1 skeleton spearman regiment to also get in the way and hold objectives in the same kind of sense, but maybe just a bit better. I had a couple of points left over, and what else was I going to put items on? Then I had a troop of wraiths, which are the ultimate chaff, defense 6, very fancy. 2 Soul Reaver infantry regiments, one of them with the staying stone, so that's 2 hammers right there. The next hammer is the whites, so a horde of them with the blade of slashing, just to help them out. And I have 2 troops of Revenant Cavalry, which are also fantastic chaff. So I've got, 3 good chaff for my hammers. And the final hammer unit I have is the Soul Reaver Cavalry Regiment with Sir Jesse's Boots of Striding, because they really need that Thunderous. Otherwise they lose it, they're not doing much. Then to pressure the enemy to move closer, I have 2 Balefire Catapults, which are fantastic. The best catapults, I gotta say. Very, very consistent. And then my support crew, I couldn't do it without them. I have 2 Revenant Kings. 1 on foot with Surge 5, and 1 on an Undead Horse, also with Surge 5, and the Trickster's Wand for a cheeky Hex 2, thanks to his extra height, he often gets to do it. And then finally, I have a Necromancer with the Inspiring Talisman, Heal 3, and Bane Chant 2, because I didn't need more Surge. I rarely use Surge, truly. So that gives me 16 units, 24 unit strength, and that is a very respectable list, I think, to take a tournament, because it can do pretty much everything. Whether I can make it do everything well, we shall see. But Scott's Undead list is completely different, apart from the fact it does have some Soul Weaver infantry like mine does, but that's about it. So it starts off with 3 ghouls regiments, which you don't see very often. You either see them taken in the horde with the ghoul-ghast, to make them quite powerful, or you have them in troops as chaff. Don't see them very often as regiments, which he's kind of using as chaff, but also the fact that they're quite speedy because they're not shambling. They can get around and hold things, so they're pretty good at holding objectives more than, say, zombies who take their sweet time to get there. Then he has his triple hammers, 3 Soul Weaver infantry regiments, each with different forms of Weaver mitigation. So we've got the Staying Stone, we've got the Chalice of Wrath, we've got the Dwarven Ale. So I won't be able to remember which has which, but you know, they've all got something that'll help them stick around and keep fighting. So there you go. That's pretty nasty. Then he has something that goes against what his original ideals were, but it fit in. There was zombie trolls, so a horde of them with the Pipes of Terror for some brutal, and I think he just realised he needed something that was just a bit more solid, because without it, well, yeah, the fact is everything wavers, and he needed something that was just a little bit more reliable, and so he's got that in there. Well, not everything wavers, because you'll see. Then we have a Vampire Lord on foot with the Blood Rage and Gnome Glass Shield to escort some of these troopers. And then he has what he loves to put in, which is 2 Revenants on Undead Great Burrowing Worms, with one with an Inspiring Talisman, and they always go together in a pair. And you know, you see a lot of people talking about the Undead list and umming and ahhing all these different things, but whenever people mention the Revenant on the Undead Great Burrowing Worm, real mouthful, I was like, oh, you know, he's just, you know, he doesn't have much. He's, you know, there's a lot of, I guess, some downsides to him. He doesn't have Inspiring. He's, you know, he hits on 4s, but he has a lot of attacks and quite a bit of crushing. And yeah, he's just a real brick moving around. Sure, it'd be nice if he wasn't on like a Titan base, but you know, it's actually this duo always gives me a bit of headache because it's a lot of nerve, unwavering nerve. Just dash 18. Try and get rid of it, and if you're charging one, the other one's there to get you in the flank, so it's just like, oh, really annoying. And then finally, speaking of annoying, we have 1 Revenant King on Undead Great Flying Worm with the Brew of Sharpness to bring him to melee 3+, so it's a true dragon that we have there. So that is the whole list, and he has 11 units, quite a bit more elite, but the same unit strength, because yeah, everything apart from the vampire has unit strength, so that's pretty good. So yeah, 2150 points, there we go, 2 different kinds of undead lists. So let's get into the battle. So I didn't put down at the bottom the name of this scenario, but it's pretty simple. We've got the 3 tokens, it is loot. They're just the same loot tokens that you can pick up, 1, a 2, a 3. And so when this battlefield posed itself to me, I think I got to move, because in this tournament you get to roll off to see who can move a piece of terrain 6 inches into deployment zone. I moved this hill there, and he thought, oh no, I can't let him have that. So he took this side, because he then rolled off to choose sides. He won this side and started deploying over here to deny me that hill, which is a very good call, because you don't want my Battlefire catapults getting a complete view of the entire battlefield. It's not a fun day. But because of the way this terrain is laid out, I decided that this was the only way I could deploy, really. So let's run through the terrain. We've got, on the left-hand side, we have this flat terrain here, big kind of marsh, a giant hill, huge, that I moved. We have a forest of a medium size, and a flat terrain right here in the middle that his whole army is kind of straddling. Then on the right side we have all the other terrain. So we have a giant piece, a fortress of blocking terrain. We have just sitting right next to it, a giant hill, and then a big long forest, and then another blocking terrain. So this is, you know, it is effectively the Great Wall of the battlefield, the Great Wall of China, right here, blocking off anything on this side. Whatever's over here is by itself. And that's not good, because over the course of the games and practicing with this army, I've realized that splitting this army up, it doesn't like. It doesn't like getting put to piecemeal, something here, something there, because it really wants to support itself. All the different characters can sometimes be needed in different situations, and so I was loath to really commit anything to here. And when the deployment started, because he picked each side and he started putting stuff down, when the zombie trolls went over here, and then the ghouls and the dragon, I was thinking, I have nothing that can take down zombie trolls and ghouls and a dragon. Nothing can take all of that on unless I'm committing, you know, something like half my army. And I didn't want to commit half my army for 1 loot token. So I decided that this was already a place I was going to be deploying, because it's got, it's nice open space, it's open field, it's nice, and I can just move forward. He hasn't got shooting, so I don't have to worry. And that means I'm going for this one token, and I might as well just go for the center and leave that one to him. He's going to grab it, and I just got to really hope I can fight over these two, middle-ish tokens. Because that's the way I saw it. This was just too big a divide. It would really split my army up too much. So, with that in mind, the way I deployed was I had all the stuff that gets in the way. So zombies, skeletons, zombies are all sitting here in line with this blocking terrain here, just ready to slow things down, mainly the dragon, because he put that dragon there and I knew it was just going to start flying in. Then I have all the rest of my army kind of right next to them. So we have, there's the whites, that horde of whites, there's the Soul Reaver cavalry, Soul Reaver infantry, behind the whites another Soul Reaver infantry, and I've got my layer of chaff in front. So there's wraiths, revenant cavalry, and revenant cavalry. So just got a layer of chaff, hammers behind, and then one more hammer behind that, because I didn't want to put another Soul Reaver infantry all the way out here. Instead I put all the zombies, the last of them, out here, and they can pick up the token one day. And Balefire catapults at the back. Support characters, there's the Necromancer, there's the Revenant King on foot, there's the Revenant King on horse, and he's got no one to hex because there's no spellcasters in the list, and that's a shame. It happened like 3 times this tournament, so it's a little bit annoying. It's like, oh, I haven't got a caster. Oh, cool. I wish you told me in advance so I could have kept 15 points to myself. No, it doesn't work like that. You got to make a list for all games, but these games I was just like, ugh. Would have liked a Bane Chant or something. A second Bane Chant would have been cool. Alright, so how did he deploy? Well, we have, he's split up his army. Not also, I didn't. He split up his army, obviously. So over here, there's the trolls, there's the dragon, and you can't see them, but the ghouls are there as well. So the ghouls are pretty fast. The ghouls will probably be able to contribute to this game, but those trolls, they're out there. I don't think, if they're moving 6 inches a turn, I don't think there's enough distance that they can cover that will get them back into this game. So that's all they're doing. And I think Scott was consigned to that fact. He's like, okay, yep, that's just what they're going to do. In the middle is his whole rest of the army. So we have the the pair of Revenant Burrowing Worms. They're right here, which are these cool kind of just big chaosy monsters in armor with Chaos Warriors on their back in armor. It just looks really cool. Same as the Vampire and Dragon. It's a dragon with Chaos armor on it. They're 3D prints. They're just the perfect, like, they do Chaos Warrior monsters better than Games Workshop does Chaos Warriors. So it just all brings that army together. Then we have the ghouls. So that's one regiment of ghouls. Soul Reaver infantry, and they're all stuck on this terrain piece, so they won't be moving fast at all to get to this token right in the middle. And then we have the Nether Ghouls, and behind them the Soul Reaver infantry. So it's kind of layered, but I think he felt forced into layering because he wanted to keep them inspiring. Because around here is the Vampire, and if he put those Soul Reaver infantry, he wouldn't have enough inspiring to cover the whole line. And he knows that the Balefire catapults, if they get a glimpse, they could spike and take something off, and he was cognizant of that. He didn't want to just give anything away to a cheeky spikes, and yeah, fair enough. Oh yeah, and we got obstacles. So there's an obstacle. This obstacle, really annoying, is right around the token. So anyone who wants the token, you're getting hindered. This obstacle will do nothing for the entire game. So let's get into the game. Yep. Turn 1. It's all moving forward. Now I didn't take any pictures of the armies because it was round 2 of the day, so round 5, we're getting into it, we're like, oh, go, let's go. So I was not taking pictures. But from here you can appreciate the trimming of the different models, and we can see that the Huskars are painted to quite a high quality, as well as the Chaos Warrior models. He has achieved a close to full model count as he can with these giant honkin' dudes. So yeah, that's him moving around. And there's the Vampire. He's I think he's from Warcry, one of those Chaos Undivided Barbarian warbands from Warcry. It's one of the models from those. Very cool model. So yeah, it's all just a cool theme of chaos. Chaos Undivided. Yep, the dragon is moving up, and it's facing inwards and threat projecting. So yeah, just moved up here, 20, and turned. And the trolls and the ghouls are going for that token. My turns, obviously didn't get first turn. Well, I just move up, and I'm moving up in a way, particularly here. So everything else is kind of going up in a diagonal, so I'm just kind of sweeping across. No need to really describe it much more than that. Just trying to not give too early charges. Chaff's the only thing that he can charge if he wants, but nothing can really get too much in, unless he wants to, throw in crazy stuff. But yeah, so these Revenant Cavalry are going a bit far out, but you gotta bait them a bit. But what I'm making sure is I've got a few units here that are keeping an eye on this space behind the forest and the blocking, because I know that his dragon wants to fly over here and really look down my flanks. So I just want to make sure him landing here is quite difficult, not quite so straightforward. There's a risk. That's what I want. It's not that risky. I mean, it's just these guys, but they'll probably ground him, and then he's going to take a while to get through them. Turn 2. Picture of a dragon that hasn't moved yet because he actually forgot to move it until the end of, I think he was getting into some... he didn't even have any combat. He's just like, your turn, and I'm like, what about your dragon? So that's why it's here. It won't be. It'll be where I thought it would go. But yeah, these guys are moving up. There's the token. I don't think they're going to pick it up. He's leaving it for the zombie trolls that are taking their sweet time. The rest of his army is starting to come in, so we're obviously converging. This will be the battle line right here. So he's sweeping in one diagonal. I'm coming from the other diagonal, just because the train's forcing us to do so. Yep, the dragon's gone, and it ended up over here. It had to move at the double. It already did one pivot, so it was just kind of stuck facing the edge of the battlefield. But I was covering pretty much everywhere here in terms of threat range. He was including Surge, so he was just like, oh, I can't do it. And he also couldn't land in the forest, obviously. So this was the best he could figure out. So I'm moving, and so no charges yet, just moving all kinds of things up. I've got zombies on offer. I've got my chaff. I think I even didn't move my chaff much more. I just kind of had the whole army follow up. I did get the wraiths, since they're nimble, to just get out to the side, just to threaten a flank, just slowly putting pressure on the edges to make him do something, while I'm also shooting. But the only thing I can actually shoot in this entire army are those burrowing worms, because they're huge. Everything else is hide too, and yeah, my whole army screens it. So unless I get like an occasional little bit in between where I can just shoot something, I'm not getting that. So unfortunately, the only thing I shoot is these -18 defense 5 guys in cover, which is, there's some meager rolling. It's not very satisfying, I can tell you that. But do note that I have made this full defensive perimeter to take care of this dragon menace. I have the skeleton spearmen, the zombies, and even Soul Reaver infantry that have just kind of turned. They're not fully committed, but they're just here because if these guys get stuck in, you need something really to take them down. And they're not doing anything right now anyway because they're behind the whites. So if the whites get into combat, these guys can't contribute. So I thought, let's just turn them. It's a lot of points to look at a dragon, but also this kind of dragon can do a lot of damage. So I just want to keep it in check. Yeah, that's just showing my smarts. And there he is, looking in the corner. Turn 3. Well, now combats are happening. It's just a quick one though. So we've got both the ghouls that were here. So there was a ghoul here, there was a ghoul here. So those regiments, boom, they're in. They're a bit hindered because one went past that obstacle. Another one had to, I think, had the back on this pancake thing here, the pond. So they're both a bit hindered, but they'll take out zombies. That's a lot of attacks in one flank, one front. So that's the zombies getting hit, and I'm kind of happy. That's why I put them out. I'm like, please take them. And I was hoping instead it would be like, Soul Reavers coming in, but I'll take ghouls. That's his only chaff he really has. So if they're gone, then I get to pick and choose my charges on his Soul Reaver infantry. So that's pretty cool. So they're in, and the dragon has edged a little bit closer. Now he can move around a bit. So he's just figuring out the distance that I could possibly surge, and like if I moved and then I surged, and I've got it's a total of surge 10, so he's trying to stay out of 15 because he really doesn't want to get grounded just by annoying stuff. So yeah, that's what he's trying to figure out. So that's why he's just moved here. He's just hoping to see something that he can charge. These ghouls are slowly getting into the battlefield, and the zombie trolls have now picked up the token. Over here now, it's my turn to move. Well, we can see the aftermath here. So obviously the zombies perished, and in response, I'm hitting the ghouls that turn to face with both whites and Revenant Cavalry. So that should be the end of those ghouls. I still maintain my perimeter looking at that dragon, so I'm not giving it any quarter and covering all kinds of flanks, and nothing he can fly into. because that would not be desirable whatsoever. I continue to spread out my chaff a bit, so the Revenant Cavalry are just kind of getting closer, and the Wraiths have gone off further on the edge to just keep harassing and proposing the question, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? But yeah, they're only speed 7, so they can't really get that far out to the sides. And these zombies are slowly appearing. I've picked up the token, so those Soul Reaver infantry here have the token on their torture. I got some torture terrain from a dungeon crate, so yeah, they've just put that there. So we now have a token each, and the token in the middle remains untouched. Yes, smart. I put that there. That dragon not coming in. Whoop, that's when I put the camera down. And this is my army looking at his burrowing worms. Ah, huzzah! So we did kill the ghouls. You'd expect so. The whites don't have trouble with a lot of things, and it's definitely not ghouls when they're winning on 2s. So yes, those are some dead ghouls. Turn 4. Well, now some more combats happened. So obviously first layer came in, but thankfully nothing was in range. Oh, another sorry for infantry were in range of my whites, because I don't know if whites can take that. So instead they get the Gnome Glass Shield Vampire with the Blood Rage coming in. So he's at least going to ground them, so fair enough. And these ghouls that were sitting here could see the flank of the skeletons, and they thought, yes please, so they rushed in. So there's going to be some fight going on there, but thankfully unlike the zombies skeletons are defense 4, so let's hope that keeps them alive. Because that's what costs the points, that and the phalanx. And then we have all these, so Soul Reaver infantry, 2 lots of the Soul Reaver infantry of Scots have gone into my Revenant Cavalry. So they're hitting my wall of chaff, as are the 2 burrowing worms. They've gone into the Wraiths. So that's exactly what I wanted. That's what it's there for, right? So it's there to poof, take it, and then I get to pick and choose what gets hit afterwards, because I assume all of it will die. And the dragon continues to and ah, because it's still not a perfect situation for it to get into. It doesn't want to charge the zombies, because obviously, even if it's lucky enough to destroy them, then there's a whole Soul Reaver infantry coming in, and the same with the skeletons. He's just hoping that the ghouls will disrupt this whole situation, and then the dragon will be free to run amok once and for all. These ghouls are coming in. Those Soul Reaver infantry are not going to pick it up. They're just kind of standing on it. If he's thinking about it though. And yeah, these ghouls are slowly coming towards the battle. Yeah, and he's given up with the trolls. He's just kind of, he was initially putting them onto the hill, and then he's like, no, they're not. He could see that literally, after 4 turns, if there is turn 7, they would still have only gotten 24 inches, and that's still not actually in range of any combats. So, what's the point? Just hold on to your token and be happy you got it. Oh, no, they got speed 5, so they would be only 20 inches. Oh, I misspoke. So there you go, even less. And so, that's just showing the combats. Yeah. What about the aftermath? There we go. That's what we wanted to see. So all the chaff is dead. Revenant Cavalry, and the Wraiths all destroyed. The burrowing worms are now facing my army. Well, one's facing, and then... Oh, what did you do with that one? Why is it not facing this way? I think he didn't want to give a flank to zombies or something. Not sure why it's not facing this way. Yeah, anyway, that one's facing... This one is facing this way, that one is just facing... Oh, maybe because he couldn't see. Not sure, but it definitely looks like it's facing that way, doesn't it? I don't know. But we have all the Soul Reaver infantry free, but I'm free to charge it. That's what's happening. So... but most interestingly, 9 damage was done to the skeletons, but didn't kill the skeletons. And actually what we're seeing here is my turn. So, my skeletons have turned to countercharge. We're just repositioning a bit. So, like, ooh, so I don't... this is making sure I'm not in 20 inches of his dragon with the Soul Reaver infantry. Or maybe I am. Maybe I don't care. Anyway, they've turned a bit. The zombies are here, ready to go. I've got Bane Chance ready to go onto the skeletons so that they can actually do some damage from a Necromancer. Whites are going back into the Vampire, which definitely did ground them 5 damage, which is a good deal. But yeah, I'm going to be hitting that back. And then over here, yep, that's a better picture. We have the Soul Reaver Cavalry going into his Soul Reaver Infantry. It's going to get confusing. There's a lot of Soul Reaver. So my Cavalry, his Infantry. So my Cav are getting in. And my Infantry are also in. These are the ones holding the token, going into his. Now, to make sure that I'm not giving up a tasty flank to that burrowing worm, I've got my zombies coming in, and I have a dude with Surge ready to cast it. and boom, there it is. Surge worked, I'm in, and so that hopefully holds it back. Not for very long, but it'll take a while with his melee 4+ to get the job done. So, oh, and look what happened. So already we have a result. I have managed to kill those ghouls and face back towards the dragon. So that dragon situation remains in the cold state that it is. So yeah, Spearmen had finished with those ghouls promptly. But how did they do that? Well, it was actually because my whites managed to just kill that individual, and him being an individual meant they could overrun, and then that was a flank. So whites in a flank, no way. Nothing's surviving that. So the whites are free, and now they've just turned to look at things. So yeah, that was nasty, but that's what happens when you hold things up with an individual. It can definitely backfire. That happens to me all the time when I'm running my goblins. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just chuck Grupp Longnail into that. Oh no, he's died and you've overrun and killed my trolls. Wonderful. And then both my Soul Reaver infantry and cavalry are free. So they've killed their Soul Reaver opponents. So vampire and vampire action, we come out the victor. So there's only one Soul Reaver infantry regiment left to Scott, and it's yeah, that's maybe not enough over here at least. But obviously, just managed to do a little bit of damage to the burrowing worm with my zombies. But most of the damage that are on these it was mostly done from the balefire catapults chipping away slowly. So yeah, nothing really to write home about there. So that is the state of my battlefield at the end of the turn. So I've still got that token. He hasn't picked up that one, so for now it is a draw. Turn 5. So this is an aftermath shock. Things were happening so quickly, but you know what happened? The dragon decided, stuff this. He had a front. He could see the Soul Reaver cavalry. He was in their front, and he just decided to bugger off and hit them in the front. And at the same time, there was a flank from that burrowing worm, the one that was supposed to be held up by these bloody zombies. So they both went in together and popped the Soul Reaver cavalry quite earnestly, and so now I've got that to contend with. We've got 3 worms here. We've got the 2 burrowing and the flying all here. So now Soul Reaver infantry are no longer the problem. It's just a whole bunch of monsters. It's a monster mash. Here he's decided to take over from his brother to go into the zombies, so good luck to him. And here there's, well, no, that's getting into my turn. So yeah, Soul Reaver infantry went into the whites and did all right. So it went from 4 damage to 12, so 8 damage. It's not terrible, but 12, yeah, you need a 5 twice. So I guess they just didn't get it. Yeah, I think he just rolled a little bit low. And that's all I need to survive. So in my turn, yeah, I'm obviously going to countercharge the Soul Reaver infantry with my whites. To ground the dragon, I've sent in my own individual, which hopefully won't backfire, but it could. Anyway, so Revenant King's gone in there to ground him, and the Soul Reavers are going into the burrowing worm, and the zombies just continue holding up there. I've got my other Soul Reaver infantry that were initially babysitting that dragon, coming into the scene here, so that's good. They're fresh, they haven't been hurt, and I've still got my zombies and skeletons. The skeletons that have already claimed some ghouls. Turn 6, because here's the aftermath. So a few different things happened. I obviously did not kill the burrowing worm, so my Soul Reaver infantry remained there, and he's countercharged me there. He decided not to countercharge the Revenant King, because I guess it's, dash 14, defense 5, it's not a given. So he decided instead to just pivot and hit the guys in the front, the whites, because he is hopeful that he can take them out, especially because they took quite a bit of damage. They're now on 11 thanks to their life leech, but he reckons he can finish them off. Oh, and look over here, getting close to the token, those ghouls that have been trotting across the entire battlefield. They're hoping to steal away with it. But these guys don't need to steal away with anything. Oh, I think they've even picked it up already. They may have picked it up. It's hard to say. But yeah, they're trolls. Trolls still stick in there. So we have the fight going on. Oh, it's not very good. I don't have it. Sorry. Let's take a look. Yeah, well, I guess they died. So I'm going to say it. Turn 7. So it's easier to find later. So we have the whites have died, and obviously that left it wide open for then my Soul Reaver infantry and my zombies to get right in there. So in there they did get. And that's a flank. They were sitting about over here, so boom. And there. So that's that's pretty decisive. That's going to just end things. You don't need Soul Reavers in a flank, and you're never really going to survive. But the Burrowing Worm managed to get out of the zombie fight, so he managed to kill him, so he's free, and so these Soul Reaver infantry better finish up their own Burrowing Worm quickly, otherwise they're going to be in trouble. Now, I have the small problem of him having the objective here with his ghouls, so I need to deal with that. And so the way I've dealt with that, I've moved up my skeletons, I've measured the distance with the surge, and so I'm going to surge them as far as they'll go. Because yeah, I need to get that, otherwise he just straight up wins. The loot's very simple scenario. There's only 3 tokens, and you just need to have more than the other guy. So in this case, that is tipping in his favor right now. So I've got my 2 surge casters ready. So I have this guy's going to cast surge first. The Revenant King on foot, off they go, and then surge him a bit more, off they go, and hopefully we'll get there. It'll be a flank. It'll be a hindered flank, but hopefully. And so this is showing, yeah, well, obviously the dragon died, so those Soul Reaver infantry finished him off, turned to face, and then the other Soul Reaver infantry finished off and turned, and so we've managed to take out both the worms, and there's only 1 Burrowing Worm left. The skeletons did get surged, and I don't think they quite got there. So that was a shame, but since it's... turn 7, but then yeah, so what happened next? So then he turned away, started to run. He had to go in some direction. These Revenant Soul Reaver infantry were facing his ghouls, and he needed to get them away. They were definitely in range, so he had to get out of that range. He obviously could send in his Burrowing Worm to kill them, but there was also these Soul Reaver infantry here that were on looking, so he needed to get away, and so he's just moving them in that direction. So this is his turn 7, and then I managed to, well, just get them in the rear and get lucky with my rolls to kill them. So yeah, I managed to take them off with the skeletons and took that token right back, and it was my victory. And just, very just. So Revenant King was required to add in that extra damage, because yeah, you just can't rely on it. Yeah, obviously, I told you, this obstacle was just so annoying, because yeah, it was hindered town whenever you were trying to deal around this. So I was getting hindered. I was trying to roll those 6s, and you know, just not getting them. So the fact that Revenant King was in there, they're taking some damage from Balefire Catapult before. So yeah, the ghouls just got destroyed, and I just got the token, and it was so close. And it was a really good game. We just both thought that was a fantastic game. There was all kinds of bloodshed everywhere, and yeah, it was a very good showing for his army. And but it did validate my theory that, you know, the best army of Undead is a good balanced army. You need some shambling, you need some non-shambling, you just need it all in there. I mean, obviously, maybe the best is the whites only, but I really like the Soul Reaver infantry, and I like what I've done with them. So, yeah, so that is another victory. So that is 3 wins. I'm in good. So whatever happened to the last round, I'm pretty happy with this tournament. And yeah, we'll just see what that final opponent is. I think I was slowly creeping up to the top tables. Nowhere near the top, you know, Jeffrey Tracer was out, far away from all of us mere mortals with his amazing lead, and I was just glad to be playing at least in the same round, kind of nearby tables. So that was pretty good for me. So yeah, that was the end of this game. So if you think there's something I did wrong, or any different take on it, or are you equally astounded at Scott's transformation? Because if you look back at his battle report back in May, I think, yeah, it was the same models, but all grey plastic on bare bases, and now it's all multi-based and coloured, and just, yeah, really nicely done. And yeah, apparently to do so, he had to really set up a whole schedule. He told me about it. He really made sure he had to get everything done. He had KPIs to meet, and he did. He got there, because yeah, it's a fantastic looking army. It was really working, and he had to submit the list early, so he really had to commit to it. So yeah. Anyway, fantastic game. So I hope you enjoyed this Undead on Undead action, and if you did, it'd be fantastic if you gave it a like, comment, say whatever you like. Really, comments just really help anyway. So it doesn't have to be anything relevant to this, or you can ask me a question. I don't care. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. That will be the last battle report for the tournament. So it'll be a very exciting one, to be sure. I'll see you then. Keep caffeinated.